All right, we got our Lions Dolphins practice today. Got a huge scare with Chop. That's a guy you can't afford to lose. Thankfully, it ended up being pretty good. He tweeted out that it wasn't a big deal. He's fine. So that's great news. So I'm going to cover that a little bit. Cover the practice. It was really weird reporting. It was one of the most difficult practices from Dolphins coverage to parse through. It was very weird. And get into that, there's some good notes. We have Dante Trader coming back. He looked really good. Jordan Phillips looked very good. So I'm going to get into some of the good stuff, some of the concerning stuff, and getting ready for this preseason game on Saturday. So that's the whole deal. Savvy, rendezvous. Remember, likes, subscribes, comments, and views, all that stuff keeps Curtis in the biz. So please help me out with that if you can. Because without you, without my sponsors, certainly without the two of you, this show ain't going down. Ace Per Head's betting software is the premier white label platform for bookies to manage their players and grow their sportsbook operation. Click the link in the description below to get set up in minutes. Ask for the Curtis promo and get a special introductory discount. All right, so the first order of business is Chop. Phillips wasn't in today. He's got a little leg whip or something, a second one, so he wasn't in practice. And then Chop got injured, and it was scary. The car came out for him. There was a scramble for a ball. He went down for it. They were talking about the arm, the shoulder, but thankfully you can see here, I'm good, y'all. Nothing serious. That's Chop's account. It's pretty cool looking little thing there. So that's good. I don't know what that means. Maybe you miss time. Maybe you won't miss time, but it doesn't look as terrifying as it was. We cannot afford to lose Chop. We need all that pressure from the edges. We need Chubb. We need Chop. We need Phillips. We need them in all year round. And that ties into some of the reports. The Lions reporters kind of all said that Lions had their way with us. And I was trying to get the reports from some Dolphins reporters, and it was kind of like all over. It was like fudgy a little bit. Some of it sounded like we did good. Some of it sounded like, well, maybe, but, you know. And that kind of concerns me a little bit, that maybe there's a little obfuscation to reality. We just played the Bears. We got beat up in the practice by all accounts. And then we played them, and we played their seconds, not their firsts. And I see some people kind of talking about, well, this guy did that and that guy. And they did that, but they were doing it against lower tier talent. And so there's got to be, not saying it's not good, but there's got to be a little rabbit ears on it because of the lower level competition. So then we get into this practice, and there were certain things that were definitely mentioned by both sides that are good. I'm going to get into that in a second, but it just feels like there's a little bit of massaging going on, and that concerns me the most. We had a long week. We had Jalen Ramsey coming out saying his thing. We know the general tenor of that. I'm not going to dig into it too much. I guess it is something people want to hear, but he didn't respect McDaniel. He didn't think, well, in converse, he said, I went to a team that respects the head coach and has a chance to win something, which the converse of that is he wanted out of here because that felt like that wasn't what was going on here. Then they had Grant from the Lions saying this team's soft. And, people are saying, well, Grant's nobody and Jalen's sour grapes. But a lot of people are saying Jalen's sour grapes were saying he was awesome when he was here. And we have lots of people saying the same kind of stuff. And then we have our eyes. I think it's pretty clear what was. We weren't really a well-run team. There was a lot of disorganization. There's a tendency to be soft, however you want to define that. Soft because we couldn't run the football and oppose our physicality. Soft because we got nervous in the clutch, whatever you want to say. But then you add it into this practice, and if we were dominated like these Lions reporters were saying, that's not good. I don't think it's so much to that extreme. I think maybe it's a little bit away from that. Because there were some good reports out there. And I'm going to get into that because I want to get into something good. But clearly it looks like that this Saturday we should get ones versus ones. Now, to be fair to the Dolphins, I think the reporters should have focused on that more. We were without Jalen Phillips. We were down chop pretty early. Hill was still not in with the oblique, and Waddle was in and out. And those are huge pieces on both sides of the puzzle. It shouldn't turn your practice into garbage and being dominated if that was the case, but that's legit context. So you can see here, as Poupart right here, been focusing on the Dolphins offense, which has featured very little Waddle and no Tyreek and has looked bad. Drops, 2 by Wilson. Two Wilson picks, but can't confirm the news of Chop Robinson going down. You can see it's kind of older news here. Phillips and Weaver went out to check him out, but we know that's good. So we know the offense didn't do good. But when you pull out Hill and very little Waddle, it's kind of understandable, but I'd like to have known why. Some reports were saying that we ran the ball pretty well in certain moments, and that's good. You could see here, Finn's Extra to confirm what I was saying. Plenty of reports coming out of Detroit regarding today's joint practice. It sounded like it wasn't a good day in the office for the Miami Dolphins. Either the Dolphins are really bad or the Lions are just a juggernaut. That was the most lopsided joint practice I've ever seen. Lions dominate both sides. You can see the names here. Lions just out everything. The Dolphins for 2 hours out here. I mean, are they all wrong? There's another one down here. Lions absolutely, offense absolutely dominated. I'm told by colleagues. The defense dominated as well. And that's the point I want to get into. So Goff and St. Brown had an unbelievable day. They were perfect, kind of going up and down the field. Now, was that because our rushers weren't in there? He had too much time. I heard that our secondary kind of was getting beat up a little bit. And that kind of points to one of these other takes, which is a little bit interesting, a little bit concerning. Barry Jackson, the Dolphins believe they put together a good team. They said on the record that the media is more worried about their secondary, etc., than they are. The only question is whether they blow off today by saying Detroit does this to everyone or whether it makes them reassess parts of their roster. And we all know they said the same thing last year about the offensive line. And so it does bring concern. It does. I'm not ringing the bells or anything, but you're kind of getting this feel of, whoa, it's starting to get concerning. And so for me, just from an evaluation standpoint, it could totally flip come week 1. But with this Detroit game, we're going to see a potent offense go against this secondary. Good enough line that even if we got Jalen back and Chop back, they're going to be able to hold them enough to get those their receivers some time and to try to expose our cornerbacks. And to me, that was the thing. I still think with the front that we have, we're going to overwhelm a lot of the lesser teams. But my concern was if they got a good enough quarterback and receiving group and an offensive line that could slow down that blitz, how good is this secondary going to do? And that's going to be the critical portion from this preseason game number 2 that I'm going to be focused on. Now, good news, Dante Trader finally showed up, and there were some catches, and he delivered the wood very hard, and that's what we wanted for him. There's going to be, you want the breakups, but if the guy's going to catch the football, and we're kind of keeping everything in front of us, deliver those hits, make them pay. So the good news is that Trader came in and he showed the physicality we're looking for. We'd like to see, a hit and an incompletion. But if they're going to catch that football, make them pay. And it looks like Dante Trader is that guy. Now, Jordan Phillips, who I loved when we drafted him, who I really thought highly from the first preseason game, had a very good day today again. He was stacking up the front. Really, this guy's only 20 years old, and he's doing that. And when you add in Grant, however good you think he's going to be, his floor is pretty high. These two guys together does show a very nice potential for this D front. Specialist Seal, he's going to be here for the next 3 years. So Phillips is looking good. Dante Trader made his appearance. Didn't hear much about Grant. It was very hard to find the real data of what was going on the offensive line. There were some nice runs to the left side, and there was some outside runs, but I didn't get to hear too much about the interior. And to me, that's going to be the biggest part. So we got to see a pretty decent defense, although it's banged up. It's missing its best D tackle until sometime midway through the season. But there's still a pretty good defense. But this offense has a very potent offensive line. There was talk about how Sewell was just shutting people down all day, which is what he does. I wish we had drafted him. I don't know why we didn't. But anyway, so this offensive line, Goff, who's a vet, and he's able to tear you apart, and it's a pretty good receiving group. Mine is Ben Johnson. It's going to be interesting to see that. How does this secondary respond? How does this team respond? If we struggle in this preseason game in certain areas, running inside, stopping the pass, then I think it's get your hand a little closer to this bell of ringing for concern. But I wouldn't do it just yet. But the media obfuscation and the uncertainty about trying to parse through this practice was a little disconcerting. So we'll see. We haven't had Hill. Waddle's been part-time. Phillips is now taking some time off, but I guess he'll be back soon, it appears. And then Chubb, thankfully, he's not injured. 4 big pieces, but some of our totals should be able to uplift a little bit better than what we have. So that's the whole deal, guys. We got the game on Saturday. There'll be a practice tomorrow, then off on Friday, and then the game. And then we can really start figuring out what's going on if we get ones versus ones. That was my biggest problem with the tape from week 1 because we really didn't get to see against top competition. So this is what I got. This is where we are. Let's hope that it's much ado about nothing with this concern, but it's getting closer to being a real concern with this secondary. So that's the whole deal. Curtis saying, be well, go Fins. Curtis out. Start building your own online sportsbook today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.